Willie, firstly, we just have to explain why we're speaking to you and not Enzo. That's because of the red card. Of course, he can't do the TV.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what happened, but we all understand the emotion of the game and the situation the last second, how we score.
And so lovely to see a teenage boy, a young Brazilian kid, just so delighted with that winning goal. I mean, a massive moment for Estevao.
Not just for him, it's for the whole squad. We were a very young squad that had to learn through games. And for Estevao, this moment will be unforgettable. For us, also, it's a really good moment.
Close margins like last season, and that's the same for the last 2 games we've played. I think in both games we've created more chances, goal scoring opportunities than the teams we faced with Palace and Chelsea. But the truth is that we've only scored in both games 1 time, and our opponent scored in both games twice.
Well, both these teams came into this one really needing a win. So how did Chelsea manage to exploit Liverpool down the flanks, Wayne?
I think Liverpool, it's a clear problem they've got in the right back area, and I think if you look, Bradley's come off twice in the last 2 league games at half time. They've tried Szoboszlai in there at times, and it hasn't really worked for him. And Frimpong was on the bench today and didn't get on, so they've tried 3 fullbacks in 7 league games. So I think Chelsea have seen that and they've exploited it. So I think if you watch here, Cucurella and Garnacho, they're in really good positions, and Bradley makes the wrong decision in going to Cucurella, and then you've got Marasca. You can see him telling Sanchez to put the ball in behind Bradley, which is the problem. Canate gets dragged out of position. Conor Bradley's trying to recover inside, but it gives puts Chelsea in a real dangerous position. And now as they're trying to recover the positions, the Liverpool back 4 are all over the place, and then you've got Van Dijk steps out, and if that pass is a little bit better, there's a massive space for Pedro in the middle of the goal to have a tap in. So that was a warning sign. And then again here, now you've got Garnacho, he faces Bradley up. Salah's no interest in tracking back to help him out, and Bradley, he's trying to do his best to get to the Chelsea players, and ultimately it leads in him getting a yellow card, which I'm sure that was a big factor in why he got subbed off at half time. And again here, different players, but the same again. Szoboszlai gets dragged out into Cucurella. Now it's Gravenberch at centre back. He gets isolated. Now he's 1-on-1 with Garnacho, and then a little bit of care. Chelsea maybe have a goal. And then this was Mo Salah. I think he's with Cucurella. He has to stay with him because this was a problem. Chelsea can see that, they've exploited it. He's no interest in really tracking back. It's a lazy jog. Then he stops. Cucurella keeps going. And now from being together, there's a big 20-yard gap. And this was a problem all afternoon for Liverpool. And now the other side, it goes to Estevao. Salah again is in a position where he needs to get back and he needs to connect with his midfield players, but he doesn't. And Chelsea have got big overloads. Estevao sees that. Enzo makes a run in off the back of Szoboszlai now, where Mo Salah, I think he's not even close enough to shout to tell Szoboszlai. And then the winning goal, again Cucurella making 4 runs. Salah's no interest in getting back. Van Dijk is with his man. Robertson's got his hands on his knees. I don't know if he's got a knock or he's tired. Estevao's in a good position at the back. Van Dijk leaves his man, tries to play offside, and Robertson is unaware of what's behind him, and Estevao gets the winning goal. So I think it was a big problem for Liverpool, not just tonight, but throughout the season.
Do you know, you mentioned Salah there. I know you can basically get away with what you want when you're scoring 25 or 30 goals, but Salah has no interest in tracking back anyway. So what's the difference from him last season to this season, that they're not getting away with it this season?
I think last season they were consistent in the team, they were consistent in the midfield. They had the 3 in midfield, and they were very difficult to play against, and that helped. That midfield shuffled across and helps out a lot, where this season they've played the 2 in midfield. They've had Wirt in front of that, and today was the first time they've gone back to a 3, so maybe it was a bit unfamiliar for the midfield this season, and it's took them a bit more time than they thought to fix that.
It was a really good game, and it got better and better as the game went on, and Chelsea were very impressive. Moises Caicedo particularly so.
It was a gigantic midfield performance, it really was. It had absolutely everything. It had a bit of Frank Lampard, it had a a bit of N'Golo Kante. He was just absolutely sensational. He covered every bit of grass that he could, and of course the goal topped it off. I mean, there's no goalkeeper in the world that's going to save this. But the way he makes and creates space for himself, they did this most of the afternoon. Is actually made it difficult for Liverpool's midfield to get near him. But that touch to get away from McAllister, and then the technique there, as I said, there's no one stopping that. The power behind that's incredible, and the perfect. I said it just had everything, this performance from him. It had the goal, it had protection in front of his back four. Don't forget the injuries and suspensions that they've got, Chelsea. So they needed him in that midfield to stand up. The composure, not under pressure at all, to play the passes like that, then to set Chelsea on the way in the final third again, and then same again, protection, timing of the tackle was absolutely superb and spot on most of the afternoon, and then very nearly again he had the shot again. It's a decent save, but he's having the pop, and this is in the last minute of the game, basically protecting that goal again or that win again, and he was just. It had everything. The midfield performance had everything from him. And that's not just today. That's all season, by the way, in midfielders. So it was almost near on perfect performance from a midfielder.
Maresca got 2 yellows, got sent off eventually for celebrating his second yellow, but you can't blame him, can you? A week ago, he was allegedly under a lot of pressure and might have lost his job had he not had a win in the Champions League midweek.
I know the laws and the rules, but come on, you're a brilliant late goal. Your team has been superb for you under huge pressure, and he gets a yellow card for showing that emotion. I don't get it.
You know, Liverpool, everybody knows Liverpool. Liverpool is a fantastic team, so we did our best, even when they push us. So we were so good at the end.
Do you think somehow the injuries you've had, the problems in the last few weeks, you know, like the red cards, the results, somehow that's brought you closer?
Yeah, even closer, because that's the moments we need to be even closer. So yeah, the team was good, working hard every day. So now we show that on the pitch.
Going away here at Stamford Bridge is always a difficult team to play against, but we were, in my opinion, I think we were, I can safely say this, very close to a result. So yeah, small margins. As I said, Galatasaray, we go 1v1 to the goalkeeper, we miss, they get a penalty, conceding in the last minute a set piece in the extra time against Crystal Palace, and today just in a normal extra time. They scored a goal where it could have gone either end.
Well, it was a huge win for Chelsea, and we'll come on to them in a moment. But from a Liverpool perspective, how disappointed were you, Danny?
I think disappointed in the fact that the last 2 games have been lackluster and expected a reaction. The second half, you could argue they had a good go and they committed men forward and took some risks. But the first half was a bit tepid. There was a bit of lethargy still, a bit of nervousness. There wasn't a bravery in their play. I mean, Chelsea weren't brilliant. Well, I think we've talked a lot about the amount of changes over the weeks Liverpool have had to make in personnel. So that's one factor in terms of players building relationships. Some players are lacking physically because they missed pre-season. Yeah. So, and of course, when you lose a couple of games and you're playing for a huge club like Liverpool, sometimes the pressure for any player can overcome them, and therefore their performance drops. But the biggest thing for Liverpool is, compared to last season, the lack of composure. You know, the controlling games they've lost. Palace, they played better today than they did at Palace, which is saying something. And midweek wasn't particularly good, but they had no control in those 3 games. And that's the thing I think fans are looking at, going, how can we go from a team that's composed and controlled to then one that's playing basketball and could be in... It's like Keegan's Newcastle of old, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as Arne Slot said, it actually could have gone either way in the end, Glenn. But Chelsea took all 3 points. It was a great late goal. But let's take it back to the beginning and have a look at Caicedo's goal, because it was beautiful.
Special. A special goal, this really is. I mean, they work it really well, Chelsea. They get outnumbered, Liverpool, in midfield, and Caicedo's little first touch there sets it up beautifully. Nobody comes out from Liverpool's defence to close him down, so he sets it yet again, and then the strike is just wonderful. It doesn't move at all. Sometimes, you know, when these balls fly and they move, it goes straight as an arrow. It's a poor defensive work from Liverpool, and I think that's where there's a slight problem in there. They might look at that over the long term, putting a defensive-minded player in there at some stage, because they were too open.
When you see them both fly out when the ball was being played, and then Virgil dropping back, this is why he has that touch, and then he's able to have a second touch to really set himself to really hit a clean strike, because there's a lot of time he's got there, and too much time for a team of Liverpool's stature to be given a player.
How did you see things from a Liverpool perspective for that goal?
Yeah, poor. I mean, there's always mistakes when somebody scores, but they were pretty basic ones. It actually, the first half, I thought Chelsea started a bit tentatively and gave Liverpool a bit too much respect, but when they grew in confidence and they started trying to find the extra man in the middle of the pitch, quite a clever move playing Gusto in there in some ways. But Liverpool got caught going towards the ball and left that space behind. But then Van Dijk has a decision to make, and he makes the wrong one. But we are focusing on minor details. It's a horrific goal.
That's fabulous.
Sometimes you concede by a really beautiful strike. The reaction is what's most important. And after that goal in the first half, it wasn't a great reaction. It was only second on where Liverpool really started trying to go after Chelsea. And
you know what I think as well, Dan, is that teams watching Liverpool now, remember that they're seeing blood now, so teams will say, let's have a go at them. And what I saw from them midfielders, like you pointed out, and Dan, with them just springing and going, when they can't really get there to close down, if you're quick enough and you've got that 1-2 round the corner, with the defence dropping off like that, Liverpool could have a lot of trouble with teams.
Well, we saw a bit of a change. Wirtz came on at half-time, and then Gakpo levelled the score with Isak with the assist here. Did he mean it?
No, I think even he'd have to admit that he was trying to bring the ball down. Liverpool got in some really good areas, which they should with the amount of quality they've got on the pitch. This one actually was a bit of luck. You know, you try and bring it down and it falls to Gakpo. He was poor today, but he got himself in a great position, because when you play wide, you've got to get yourself in central areas to try and score goals, and he does that reasonably well. But this bit of fortune got them back in the game, and then from there, as we've heard from the managers, it could have gone either way. Go on, Glenn.
It's a good lesson, though, isn't it, for wide players to get on the blind side of fullbacks. Because then they've got a job to do. They've got to open their body up, or they've got to keep glancing over their shoulder. We see it again with the Chelsea winner. But at the end of the day, Gakpo's got really in that blind position, and he couldn't see him, couldn't pick him up.
And that's good play from Gakpo.
Yeah.
Like you say, Dan, he didn't have a great game, but like he brought him back in it. And this is where I was surprised with Liverpool, because I'm thinking it's not going great. Why don't they take the steam out of Chelsea a bit, take something out of the game for a team that's champion? You know, it was like Danny said, it's a basketball game.
And Righty, there must be no better feeling for any player to score in the very last minute of a game, and that's exactly what happened with Estevao, young 18-year-old.
I've done it a few times.
Of course you have, Righty.
It's a beautiful thing.
Talk us through this one.
But again, you look down that left side where they were so prominent, Chelsea, especially with Cucurella, and again he's gone off of Salah, and once he gets into this situation, it's at the back there, Estevao. On Andy Robinson, for his experience, I'm very, very surprised that he's not opened up more. He's not looked. He's not seen him. He's actually looking at the other player.
Just there on that shot, you can see Gravenberch is 5 yards deeper than Van Dijk. Now he's dropped into central defence because Canate's had to come off. Maybe could have put Gomez on there. There's the Salah and Cucurella thing. I mean, we could have done this 30 times in the game, maybe more. Now, to be fair to Salah, we talked about this. It might be the manager saying, let him go, but I don't think any manager would say, let him go continually when he keeps causing us problems.
You can't. Particularly in the defensive third, when there's going to be a threat to your goal. You know, I think we've got to say that Chelsea is missing a lot of players. It's lovely feeding
defensively,
the 18-year-old, but defensively they're missing a lot of players. They've got their talisman out, Palmer. He's been their best player since he's been there. You know, people like that. So that's a fantastic result for Chelsea. It really is. Although they were at home, expected to win maybe, but you have to go out and do it, and they did it.
Well, we saw what it meant to Estevao to score that goal. Let's hear from him now. He was speaking post-match to Alex Aljo.
Estevao, parabéns, congratulations, marcou o seu primeiro gol da Premier League. You just scored your first Premier League goal. Como você se sente? How are you feeling?
Bem, me sinto muito bem, estou muito feliz. Agradeço a Deus por esse momento que eu estou vivendo, agradeço a minha família, meus companheiros de time, a comissão técnica que me ajudou a estar aqui desenvolvendo meu melhor futebol dentro do Chelsea. Então, estou muito feliz.
He said, I'm so happy, I'm grateful to God, to my family, to all my teammates, to the coaching staff, to everyone that helping with my football here, and I'm so happy that I've just scored my first goal. E qual foi a sua mensagem do treinador saindo do banco? When you came off the bench, what was the message from your manager to you?
Bem, ele me falou para sempre que eu pegar a bola, ir para cima do adversário, ficar aberto aqui para tentar fazer jogada, para tentar ajudar o time. Então, essa confiança que ele me passa, essa confiança que ele acredita em mim é incrível, fico muito feliz por isso e espero que seja o primeiro de muitos gols e jogos.
He said he has so much confidence in me. He told me to come on to play my game to try and score, and well, that's what I did, so I'm so happy for him and all the belief that Enzo Maresca has in me. Como vai a sua adaptação na Premier League? How are you feeling? Are you adapting well in the Premier League?
Está sendo muito boa, gradualmente, de pouco em pouco, de passo a passo. Agradeço muito aos meus colegas de time, à comissão técnica, que todos os dias nos treinamentos têm me ajudado bastante. Minha família aqui em casa também tem me ajudado bastante. Então agradeço muito a Deus e com certeza está sendo melhor do que eu esperava.
He said things have gone a lot better than I expected. I'm feeling really good in training every day. My teammates are helping me, the coach is helping me, and also it's really helpful that I have my family here as well, and that's helped me settle in here in England and in the Premier League. Estevao, parabéns, congratulations.
Thank you.
Inglês. Como vai inglês? How's your English going?
Tá saindo, tá melhorando um pouquinho ainda. I'm very happy.
Oh, here we go, there we go. Some brilliant English there from Estevao. Congratulations.
Lovely interview. He's only 18 years old as well, and it's such a special moment for him. Second youngest Brazilian to score in the Premier League. The youngest was Rafael, Man United.
Yeah. We'd have been here all night.
Wouldn't have got that.
No
chance.
Bit of trivia for you there, but look, it is a special moment, and I'm sure you remember well your first Premier League goal. It's just a moment that will stay with him forever.
Yeah, and such a big game. You can see how Chelsea celebrated there, because Chelsea themselves, I don't even know what Chelsea's priority is in respects of what they're trying to achieve this season. We know how many players they're collating. We know what they're trying to do. Are they trying to get the young players in and keep them in, get them a system, and then they could go on and maybe challenge? They keep buying more players. I mentioned about the wingers they've bought, and then the wingers they've sold. Like, they've got rid of wingers and they've brought people in like Gittins, like Garnacho, and they've got rid of They've got rid of Jackson and Madueke, and you think, well, is that an upgrade? And you just feel like they just seem to be going in circles, but we can see that they've got something can happen with them. They've got some quality if they can get some leadership in there.
I think they need a bit more experience at the back there if they can at times. But, as I said, they were in that unit, there were a lot of injuries in that defensive unit, where they look a bit fragile anyway. But today they got over the line against the champions, so it's a good sign for them.
And a big confidence boost for them. On the other hand, Liverpool now, that's 3 defeats in a row in all competitions. That's the first time in, 2.5 years. International break. After that, it's Manchester United.
It's actually a great game, because the atmosphere will look after itself being against United at Anfield. And the players need to respond. We can talk about the manager and tactics and all these different things. The reality is the quality of players Liverpool have, they need to do better. Too many of them are below par right now. And I'm not too concerned just yet. I think sometimes you need a little jolt, a little kick up the backside. Things have gone amazingly well for Slot since he's come through the door. And this is really the first little blip and question mark and test.
Probably good that it's happening earlier on in the season as well.
Maybe,
I think so.